Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back here with our good friend Lina Leelah Carpenito, and she, of course, is the owner of a beautiful studio based out of New Jersey called Lotus Wellness Studio. So we want to welcome you back to the show today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Please give us a little introduction as to who you are, what you do, and we'll get started.
Hey guys, so my name is Lina. Leela is my yoga name, so I just have to be clear that some people call me Lina, some people call me Leela. It all works. Carpenito, and I am a yoga therapist for a bunch of years now, probably since 2007 or 8. And I also an Ayurvedic yoga therapist. I am a health and wellness coach. I am a certified corrective exercise specialist. I have a lot under my belt over the years. So I can blend Eastern and Western stuff into my practice, which is what my specialty is and what I've been doing for a long time. Yoga therapy can be a very physical practice. It can be a very spiritual practice. It can be a very emotional practice, but it's all under the wellness umbrella of I want to be well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had some great conversations the past few weeks in regards to all the type of work that you could do. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about that connection, about everything we've been talking about?
Yes, that is just such a perfect introduction, Jill, because I was thinking about this and I was thinking about how much we have talked about. And, it occurred to me, I'm like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm like a wellness buffet, because sometimes I feel like there's so many things we talk about and, but it all falls under the same umbrella. I just want to be clear that that's what's happening here. When you're practicing something like yoga therapy or Ayurvedic yoga therapy, it really encompasses the whole person. I can't separate it. I mean, I can, but I'm almost doing that person a disservice by separating it. So yes, that's my dog. Yes, she probably sees, I don't know what, probably a squirrel. But but I love her.
Of course. She's happy the mom's there and she wants to hang out with you. That's what that is.
Like, what are you doing? Yes, because I blocked her off. But anyway, so I'll tell you the honest truth for me in thinking about all this, the hardest part for me in doing this work, which I'm so grateful for with you guys, is verbalizing what it is that I do. When your work becomes you, when your work becomes who you are and what you do, you just do it.
Yeah.
And so I don't explain what it is that I do to people. I've also, since Sleeping Lotus started, I mean, it's evolved quite a bit over the years. But prior to that, I worked in so many corporate settings. I worked for hospitals. I worked for, I don't even know how many gyms and studios and et cetera. But it became this compilation of stuff that I've done. So I've done it repeatedly. So it's inside of me, it's beyond my work. It's what I practice. It's who I am. It's what I do. So for me to put it into words, it's very, very challenging for me sometimes. So I'm grateful for this, because this is truly a next step in moving Leaping Lotus forward, because it's forcing me outside of the box. It's forcing me to think, how do I explain this to people? And my clients are telling me, they're like, you're like the best kept secret in town. For the longest time, this business was word of mouth only. People, if you didn't know me or didn't know someone who told someone about me, I was under the radar.
Wow.
And I operated that way for a long time by choice, because the work was so special to me. The work was really sacred to me. And I just didn't want to exploit myself or my work. But I got nudged by a lot of clients who were like, okay, you can't do this anymore. And they're probably right. They're probably right. So it's become this interesting balance for me of, how do I keep integrity of this work? How do I protect what I do? But open myself up, like I am to you guys and really putting myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to do it is just be honest.
Yep.
There's not always words for what I do. When I'm assessing someone, I don't know that I could explain what happens. The only thing I can say is that I've trusted the way this has worked for me all of these years. And I've watched it happen over and over again. And I can tell you, I don't know if you say I'm being guided. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe you want to say that, but it's a process that I've trusted, and it has worked every single time. It has not failed me yet.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how much I believe in this. That's how much I believe in what I do. Because you can't separate, when you use the word wellness, it's not just one thing. And I do have plenty of people that are saying, okay, I have a hurt shoulder. Okay, great. What's up with that? Let's look at that. And that's fine. It's when you get into things like, I don't know, I've had this ankle pain since childhood. And no one, weird things. I just had somebody, and it's been since childhood. She broke her ankle when she was 6. And she's in her 50s now. And it's causing a ripple effect from the bottom of her foot all the way up her body. And those are the kinds of cases that I find really interesting, and those are what I look at in a little bit of a deeper way. Because what happened when you were 6? How did you break it? How was it treated? Were you in physical therapy? And there's a million questions there, and a million ways that can play out. How is it affecting the body? Well, it's really putting pressure on the other hip.
Yeah.
By putting pressure on the other hip, she's working so hard, her digestive system is off, and it really becomes this ripple.
It's a trickle effect. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So it's cases like that I love. It's fun because it's fun, like for me, putting it all together and trying to figure out, and it's trial and error. We figure out what works, what doesn't. But that's where I've always trusted my process, Jill. I have full confidence in what I do and how I do. I don't know how I do it.
But you do, and it's amazing. So there's so many different aspects of your work. So what would you like to, continue to share with our listeners today?
I can go over again, like I've in so many of my podcasts, and every time we're together, I just reaffirm that yes, there's overlap in what I do, and I pull from so many different modalities that I've learned over the years. But if you're coming with a yoga therapy situation, that's a little more comprehensive. I'm very clear about my health and wellness coaching practices because I do have to abide by guidelines from the board. As a board certified health coach, they're very strict, and I would never break their policies. I respect that. But if somebody says, I would like to move into this as well, I can do that. But I'm very clear with them so that there's no weirdness of like, I thought this falls under health coaching. I thought this falls under therapy. I thought this falls, So I'm very clear about that. And if anyone has any questions about that, that's really a case-by-case conversation of where I draw a line, where health coaching starts and ends, and where yoga therapy, and Ayurvedic yoga therapy would fall. So, because if someone's coming to me, and let's say, here's an example, Jill, like I want to lose weight. Okay, we could start there, but it may end up but I have a back injury, and I've been trying to exercise all of these years. So there, you see how that's totally two separate things.
Yeah.
That's a great example, and it happens a lot. So I was going to talk a little bit. I get lots all the time. This whole weight loss thing. Oy. It's a big topic.
Yeah.
And clients call and ask all the time, what diet should I do? can you write me something down?
Okay.
Can I do this? From my perspective, it's not a simple answer. It's
Yes.
not. One of the reasons, again, why I've kept this work so contained is because I want to motivate people. I want to empower people to do the work. And unfortunately, with any kind of work in any sort of therapeutics that there is, there's no shortcut. We know this. I think we know this. I think that every book in the world will tell you this. It's not here, do this, come back to me in 5 days, and you're good. Problem solved, off you go.
Yeah.
If it were that simple, I think we'd all be doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really big picture. That's what I look at a lot, and what I've seen. And I think people do have really good intentions. And two things happen. One is they go really, really like super duper rigid strict. And I'm doing it until they crash.
Mm-hmm.
And I never, ever, I don't care, people come to me with deadlines all the time. I have to lose X amount by this date.
Yeah.
I will never commit to a promise of that because you just don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I've seen this too, like one bad day could derail you for a week. There's so many topics that go into the weight loss thing, like emotional eating, stress eating, which is also emotional eating,
Mm-hmm.
or just eating a diet that's just not right for you. It's just not working. I talked a little bit about in my podcast on Monday about the whole eating thing. Remember, Jill? We talked about summer and the whole summer eating thing and lining up. So see how like all these topics, they definitely all blend. They're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
But to really get into the nuts and bolts of weight loss, you have to kind of sit and say, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to look at? And you need to be really honest with yourself. Because I don't want to set anybody up for failure. I want success for every single person that comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I have to backtrack. I got to back it up a little bit because I could just write something down for someone and say, here, this falls into your calorie count a day. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me know how it goes. If you fall off the wagon, give me a call. I'll give you some pep talk. I'll give you some like rah-rah spiel and off we go. Right? But I personally feel like that's doing them such a disservice. Because if you're burning the candle at both ends,
We all have done that, and some still do.
and if you don't have enough time to sit and figure out how to organize your fridge, how to organize your pantry, how to even just get some decent food in the house, if you're not even willing to do that, and that takes, I'll tell you, it sounds very simple what I just said.
Yeah.
But we don't have, this is a big issue. We don't have time.
Yeah.
Which is why we're all grab and go. We're all eating in our cars. We're all like,
We are. Yeah.
yeah, grabbing the banana when we can, or the bar whenever we can, and off we go. And so that's got to, and I'll meet you where you're at. I mean, if that's, we can compromise. We could find a starting point. But something we all need to really look at. Am I shutting off the TV in a decent hour?
That's the one I have trouble with. Guilty. I do. And I write things down to go over them and to remember. So I have to remember to go back to the notes. You're right. TV's off. That is like super important in my house at night with my two boys, but doesn't always happen, especially now that it's summer, kids are out of school, whole schedule's whacked.
Yep, all over the place, right? And just everybody's waking up whenever they wake up, going to bed when they're going to bed. And but again, you got to be forgiving with it because it is summer. and it's like, where's the balance? Where do you draw the line? Like, you're in this really rigid, strict schedule all year.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of okay to not be in that, but you need to really look at it and say, well, when is it a problem?
Yeah.
That's where we all need to look at ourselves. And these are the kinds of questions that I empower my clients to ask themselves.
Got it.
Yeah, it has to start from that. It's not like, go get your celery, go get your beets, go get, here's your garlic. It's, because we can all kind of do that.
Yeah.
Right? We can kind of, these days we can get groceries delivered if we really needed to. We can figure a way, right? We can all figure out a way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many ways. So many companies, you can just get like veggies delivered to your door in a nice, fresh, cold box. It doesn't get any easier than that.
True. Yeah.
But if you're not going to use them, and we've all done that too, right, Jill? With the best intentions.
Time management sometimes, not being able to make the time now to prepare, to eat it, to do yes.
So how do we cut corners and how do we make it doable? Because it's not, I get it. This is not, we're all living life in the fast lane. This is just life in the US. And it's not that we're doing anything wrong, because we're not, but how do we find the balance of
Exactly.
Help
us. You're our guru. How do we find the balance?
But it starts with the really simple little things.
Mm-hmm.
Shutting the TV off at night. That's a hard rule. Like that's a big one. No phone time after whatever time.
Yeah.
TV time after whatever time. I just got a phone call this morning. Mom calls and her daughter's 16.
Okay.
We're working on this nightmare problem. She's having, and so I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. And she's like, she had another one again last night. So she tells me, and she's just a sweet, sweet girl. The girl gets on the phone. I'm like, well, what happened? Tell me. I know. Tell me what happened. And she goes, well, I was walking down the street with my siblings, and all of a sudden I started, this is really crazy. She starts coughing up blood. And she said, so everybody carries me home. They put me on the couch, and my arm goes paralyzed. And she said, I woke up and my arm was literally paralyzed. She said, I couldn't feel my going like this. And she said, I couldn't feel my fingers. And she said, I got really scared and jumped up out of bed because I really thought that I was paralyzed.
Oh my gosh.
So the first question I asked her, what are you doing before you go to bed? And she says,
is she on the iPad or the phone? Watching scary things? What is she doing?
Exactly. On your laptop, she goes, I kind of have been watching this series called Teen Wolf. And she goes, I don't think it gets to me. And I'm like, okay. Maybe it's not. But I said, can we try not doing that before bed and see what happens? And so this is a really good example of, I told Mom, I'm like, we gotta, get her off the phone, get her off the iPad, laptop before bed, because I definitely think, she's falling asleep. She says she sleep right away, but sometime in the middle of the night, she's been having these really off the wall.
There you go.
Yeah. And I think that could be, I don't know what else is going on. There could be some other things, but let's start there.
Start with the basics, baby steps with everything we do, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be. And, we can talk about her diet. I have talked to her, about her diet too. And, there's a little binge eating going on, and there's definitely, but it's about being gentle. Because you know what? We're all trying to figure this out, right? Aren't we all?
It's been a hard year in general. My goodness. And the amount of stress and anxiety from the pandemic, and yes. And now trying to return back to normal, or the new normal. And it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. It's not. And I get tons of phone calls like that too. I'm having trouble getting adjusted to a new schedule. I'm having trouble, I feel weird being outside of my house. I feel, yeah. So it's baby steps.
Yeah.
You gotta go slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stress enough that it's not always one clear-cut answer. It isn't. And I'm not sure if this is the root of her nightmares, but let's try this first and get her off TV maybe an hour before bed.
Yeah.
I also recommended a little bit of I kind of like a meditation, like maybe some soft music or something light, before she goes to bed, and just see what happens there.
Got it. Yeah.
Um,
Good idea.
Craving sugar. So are those sugar cravings attached to anything? That's something else to look at. She tells me that she needs a bowl of something sweet before bed or she can't sleep. That's also another interesting factor. That's a variable. Is the sugar kind of triggering something? It could be. And how do we get her satisfied so that she can fall asleep peacefully and comfortably and happily without a sweet treat? Or what is the sweet treat?
Yeah.
So that's where this kind of stuff comes in. Does this fall under yoga therapy? Maybe. It's definitely a health and wellness coaching question for sure. So a lot of times I do get kind of these interesting little scenarios that happen. But I'm here. I'm here to help. I'm here to answer questions. And in any way I can. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. Does anybody have all the answers?
No, none of us do. Nope, nope, nope.
No, but I'd love to just talk about some simple ways that we can get weight management, going back to the weight management topic.
Sure.
So this all came back with, okay, so sleeping, right? If we can all get off our devices, whatever they may be, and I'm going to be lenient and say an hour before bed. Because physiologically, medically, it does something to your eyes. When you're taking that in, you're stimulating your eyes and the brain. So there's the actual scientific reason why this is not good, and it's not just for relaxation purposes. You're actually sending a message through the eyes to the brain that, hey, we have to pay attention here.
Yeah.
So when that happens, sleep can't happen. The brain's in full thinking mode again, full processing mode again. Even when you're watching something funny on TV, there's still work going on in the brain.
Yeah.
And so if that never shuts off and you're never giving your body enough time to rest.
Mm-hmm. And rejuvenate. Yep.
And that's into another whole topic that I know I talked about too, was the amount of sleep and balancing and what that does to you metabolically. And so it's amazing how even just this one thing could promote weight loss in someone.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as that. Go to bed at the same time every night, same time, wake up at the same time every morning, and have no devices on an hour before you go to bed. That may trigger weight loss.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole snowball effect. Your body gets rested, your digestive system gets to do what it needs to do while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Waking up refreshed. And when your body's in more balance, you're metabolically digesting everything. The word digestion in the Eastern world, digest is to digest everything. It's to digest your conversations, it's to digest your emotions, it's to digest, yes, your food, but it's way, way deeper than just your food. So everything needs to digest. And if that starts to get into a rhythm, you may find that weight loss will happen all on its own. And it could be as simple as just that.
Well, what are those hormones called when you get lack of sleep? What is it?
It increases the stress hormones. Your cortisol goes up.
Those
Yep.
things affect the body.
Constant fight or flight.
Hmm.
And so when your body is in constant flight or flight, your adrenals are in failure or close to failure all the time. They're in overdrive. Let's not be extreme and say failure.
Okay.
But overdrive.
Hmm.
And when you're in constant adrenal overdrive, that is probably the biggest cause of weight gain.
Yeah.
And in that umbrella is, I'm not getting enough rest because I'm junking out on I'm binge watching, whatever. And we all do it. But I think to understand, Jill, that detaching and decompressing is very different from distracting.
Hmm.
So I can explain the difference just in case.
Sure.
We're very, very, very good at distractions. Very good, because we just love to divert our energy. But it's not a true wind down of energy. So by distraction, I mean exactly what I mean. TV time, computer time, whatever it is, reading, you're still stimulating. And so really shutting down is lights out, no sound. And that's hard for a lot of people.
It sure is. Yeah. Absolutely.
Lots of people have to sleep with the TV on.
Wow. Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, we are almost out of time. We have 2 minutes left here. It happened so quick.
Jill?
No, but what would you like to add to our listeners today before we go?
Well, I hope I cleared up any questions about anything. And I hope that everybody understands that I'm here to just offer my services in any way that I can. And I have a great referral system. So if there's something I can't do, I can help find. I fall under the medical umbrella. So there's definitely this dialogue going on with therapists, with doctors, and all kinds of acupuncturists.
Right.
So I'm willing to just help. I'm here.
Great. And Lina Leelah Carpenito, the website one more time.
leapinglotusfit.com. My email address is leapinglotusfit@gmail.com.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
And my phone number, 201-903-5028.
Thank you so much for your time. As always, we appreciate it. Thank you for enlightening us, Miss Lina. You have a great day, and anyone wants to reach out, please feel free to do so. Tell them we sent you. You have a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day. Everyone, the show continues. Stay tuned. More of that show is on the way.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.